Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, so recently this gentleman here, John Paulson, made some comments about gold that has definitely shot shockwaves through gold and silver arena, if you get my drift. We're going to get into that here in just a moment. Speaking of gold and silver, if you're thinking about buying gold and silver, and you should, because John Paulson makes a very good case for why gold and silver is going to shoot up. Gold anyways. Okay, so we're going to listen to what he has to say and critique it just a little bit. I like it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, right now is a good time. You see the prices are going up. It's that time of the year again for both cryptocurrencies as well as gold and silver. Silver definitely made a move yesterday, but so has cryptocurrencies. So when you go to buy your gold and silver, go to our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and get a free half ounce of silver. For those of you looking for my address, there it is right here. And you guys know I have this alternative channel where I'm allowed to talk about things that I cannot on YouTube. And one of them is, so I caught the coronavirus. I'm sure some of you might have heard. But I explain what happens right here. Okay? And it makes me really mad because in here also you have the link for to the coronavirus. All right, you guys? You got to go over there and see it. But I'm glad everybody's healthy. Don't forget to go support our friends over there at Wall Street Silver. They have a Reddit page as well as a YouTube channel. Shoot on over there. Show them some love. Would you? They help spread the word about silver. What's going on in the markets real quick this morning? So as you can see, look, gold's still tinkering around the $1.20 average, although it's about 18.20 average, although right now it's closer to 18.30, which is nice. Silver decided to just jump up on a horse and ride off like a bat out of hell. There it is at 24.80. So somewhere around, I think it was the third, jumped up 70-something cents, man. So it was a pretty good jump. So I've been watching it. I just haven't had a time to really get on and talk much about it. Cryptocurrencies, finally, Bitcoin over 50. It is that time of the year again. Look, this is the time of the year when cryptos run. And if my friend's right, based on the patterns that he showed me, it's very possible you could see it get up near 100,000, 200,000. It's crazy, but whatever he said makes sense. And he's into this more than I am. I just don't trust the government. Ethereum's almost back up to its record high. It's really close there, as you can see. It's at $39.32, and it's about $400 away from what its all-time high is. So, as usual, Ethereum looking like a champ. XRP is up to $1.26. It's kind of been teetering. Hasn't done a lot of improvement, if you ask me. I told you guys I was playing around with another coin. So this is Sandbox. It hasn't really done anything. When I got into it, it was like $1.15. It's still around 98 cents. This is that one for the kids' games. Shiba isn't really doing anything, although it's doing pretty good today. But Veracity, it was at 3 cents when I first started messing with it. 2.5 and then 3 cents. So it's at 5 cents right now. So not bad. It still continues to move up. So just like the Alchemy Pay, this one's doing the same thing. So far, so good. I'll just say that. So I'm just going to let it ride. Like I said, I put 1,000 in there and we'll see where it goes. If it's going to, I think it's going to have a chance to just rise along with the other cryptos through this alt season. The fact that I bought it so cheap, it doesn't take very much for you to get big gains because it is so cheap. Okay, so riding it, Veracity is doing good, 2.5 to 3%. Now it's up to 5, although it just dropped down slightly there right now. So looking good. Let's get back over to John Paulson. John Paulson, for those you don't remember, John Paulson's company made the single biggest gains ever for a quarter and then a year. I think you made a 66% increase on his investors' monies. And by the end of the year, somewhere near 800%. He is the guy that there is a movie about that watched the market in 2007, 2008, somewhere along there, saw the bubble market for real estate, and then went ahead and bet that the real estate market would collapse. And this has never been done before. You're talking about real estate securities. It's the second most secure investment next to bonds. And he took a gamble and read it good because it blew up big time. We're going to listen to John talk a little bit about where he sees the market going here, what's going on with bonds, but then what might be another big gain like the one he had before. Let's listen.
However, if it doesn't subside, or if it subsides at a level that's above the 2% that the Fed is targeting or stable.
So just real quick, though, he's talking about if inflation goes above 2%, where the Feds have targeted, it's already been above 2%. They're just lying to you when they're telling you that it's just around 2%. It's much higher than that.
Is in the 4%, 3 to 5% range, then I think ultimately interest rates will catch up and bonds will fall. In that scenario, so, there are various option strategies related to bonds and interest rates that, could offer very high returns if interest rates do move up to those higher levels.
But when you've had a kind of a life-changing event or an unbelievable success, as you did with that trade, is there a temptation to say, I don't want to tempt fate and try it again? Or do you want to prove that you can do it again and you're looking for another deal just as good as that one?
We do look, but you have to be realistic. We have put on some trades that, on smaller scale that have potential returns of 25 to 50 to 1.
Wow.
Related to both interest rates and gold prices. So,
Yeah. 25, 50 to 1 return on gold prices.
Our viewpoint is that the markets are currently too complacent regarding inflation, and that if inflation does prove to be higher than expectations, that will result in both higher gold prices and higher interest rates. And if you get those two happening at the same time, in a period of time, we can set up positions that could, return from 25 to 50 to 1.
Now, after you made your famous trade that we talked about, I think you put on a
25, 50 to 1. 25 times its current value, or 50 to 1. 50 times its current value. Yikes, man. But again, we've spoken about this. Gold and silver need to be reset based on the amount of debt that we have in order for us to be liquid. Again, if you think about the GDP, it's like, what is it, 135, 140% right now, our debt to GDP. In order for them to even be able to remotely lift interest at all, they're going to have to get it down to around 75% GDP. That's not possible. Not without revaluing gold and silver. So we talked about this. The target range for most people, most experts out there, saying that gold's going to have to be revalued to about $50,000 an ounce in order for them to get the GDP down. I mean, not the GDP, but the debt to GDP down. So how realistic is that? It is. It's very realistic. They have to go in there and do something. So usually what happens is you start paying off a lot of this debt through higher interest rates. While every time they even remotely try to raise the interest rates, the market starts to tank right away. It's going to crash. They know this. So one of the ways you can kind of do this, revalue gold and silver. That's what he's talking about.
trade where you bought a lot of gold or gold futures, and you were what was called by some a gold bug. You're a big believer in gold. Gold's now about $1,700 an ounce or so. Are you believing that gold is now a good investment at this price?
Yeah, we do, and thank you for bringing that up. We do believe that gold does very well in times of inflation. So what happens is if you own long-term treasury bonds that are yielding 2% and interest rates move up to 5%, those bonds fall materially in value. Likewise, if you have cash sitting in a bank that you're earning 0% on, and inflation's 4%, you're gradually eroding the value of your money. So as inflation picks up, people try and get out of fixed income, they try and get out of cash, and the logical place to go is gold, especially if it starts to rise in inflationary times. But because the amount of money trying to move out of cash and fixed income dwarfs the amount of investable gold, that the supply and demand imbalance causes gold to rise. And the more it rises, it sort of feeds on itself and has the potential to go what I call parabolic.
So today you are a big believer in gold as a good investment now?
Yeah, so we thought in 2009 that with the Fed doing quantitative easing, which is essentially printing money, that would lead to inflation. But what happened was that while the Fed printed money, they at the same time raised the capital and reserve requirements in banks. So the money sort of recycled when the Fed bought treasuries, created money, wound up in the banks, and then was redeposited at the Fed. So the amount of excess reserves at the Fed almost rose by the same amount they were printed, and the money never really entered the money supply, so it was not inflationary. This time around, the money has entered the money supply. So the money supply was up something like 25% last year. And the best indicator of inflation is money supply. So I do think we have inflation coming well in excess of what the current expectations. We do believe we will get more inflation than the market is currently expecting. So we've positioned our portfolio to benefit if we do get more inflation. So if inflation does become more embedded at higher levels than anticipated, that will benefit a good portion of our portfolio.
Which is in gold.
Okay, what about cryptocurrencies? Are you a believer in cryptocurrencies?
No, I'm not a believer in cryptocurrencies. And I would say that cryptocurrencies are a bubble.
Yep.
And I would describe cryptocurrencies as a limited supply of nothing.
Yep.
So to the extent there's more demand than the limited supply, the price would go up. But to the extent the demand falls, then the price would go down. There's no intrinsic value to any of the cryptocurrencies, except that there's a limited amount.
Too volatile to short. That's the thing with cryptocurrencies. They do go up and down, pretty sporadic. But I agree, there's nothing intrinsic that gives it its value. The only reason why cryptocurrencies have their value is because people believe that is the value. In other words, something's only as valuable as somebody's willing to pay for it. That's with anything, to be quite honest with you. But look, there's so much potential in the future for gold. It's just unbelievable. The more we see these guys try to balance and figure out what to do with our debt to GDP, this unbelievable amount of money they keep printing out, and now these guys want to pass a bigger infrastructure bill in which most of the money doesn't even go to infrastructure. It goes to special interest groups that they're trying to get passed right before the midterms is what they're hoping. So gold and silver, this is, again, we've spoken about this before, and people can go, wow, you said it's going to do this, and you're going to say it's going to do that. That's because under a normal market, those would have happened. But when you got people purposely holding down the values of gold and silver so they can accumulate more of it themselves, that's really some BS. But as long as you're aware of that, then, like I say, watch what they do, not what they say. So we know central banks are stocking up on gold. They know something's coming up. We know China wants to move us back into the gold standard, where at least they're going to back their yuan, their digital yuan, with gold, which is going to be interesting. So would that push us into the gold standard? It's very possible. Is there gold to kick us away from being the world's reserve dollar? It's possible. All these things are very possible and looking more and more realistic every day. In order for them to get the debt to GDP growth down, ratio down, they're going to have to do something. If they even remotely try to just slightly lift the interest rates, it's really going to cause a crash on the market. Inflation, that's another thing. We benefit, for those of you who hold on to precious metals, we benefit when inflation goes up because nothing happens to the value of the gold and silver, but it goes up. Where your money just sitting in a bank, whether it's in an IRA or savings or whatever, inflation is like an invisible tax. If it's just sitting there in the bank, you're losing value on your money, okay? If interest rates go to negative, well, then you're paying to have your money sit in the bank. So you're better off investing it into gold and silver. That is the wise, that is the smartest move. Silver really has made a pretty good jump so far. I'm impressed. It is that time of the year again for gold and silver to go up, but it's also that time of the year cryptocurrencies to make their run. It's altcoin season. I'm leaving mine right where it is. I'm curious to see what'll happen with it. So I think every 1 cent it goes up for me does pretty good. Not bad at all. So I'll take what I get. Anyways, you guys, that's it for now. Sorry I haven't been on here more often. I just got done fighting the Rona. Okay, and again, I gave my personal experience in that video. I told you what I used in there and how quickly and successful it was for both me and the little one. But Anita, my ex, is she's having a hard time. She's battling it, but thank God she got a frontline doctor to prescribe her, which is the ivermectin. So when she gets it, I'll keep everybody updated how successful it is. But for us, we took vitamin D, and it works like a charm. That's it for now, you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Catch me a little bit later. Hey, give the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so. Because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.